All right. Here we are in Vicky 3 Academy. I'm Walker. This is We Play Games, and we're talking about infamy because somebody came up with some really great questions in chat. So, what is infamy? Infamy is sort of like the bad boy score in Vicky 3. It's the thing that tells everybody that you're being aggressive, that you're trying to score points. And so it's this thing here, right? It reflects the degree by which the international community, particularly great powers, see you as a threat. And so what it means is the more infamy you acquire, it'll impact your relations with other countries, which is going to make them more likely to have different opinion factors towards you, different attitudes towards you. Now, as it stands in this one, like the U.S. is strong enough that all of these guys are just loyal through fear. But like belligerent, antagonistic. Everyone who is not currently under our thumb is just insanely mad at us. Because our bad boy score is through the roof. And that's kind of by design, because what it's supposed to do is the more infamy you acquire, the more likely they are to resist you from the outside. And then also you get this radicals from conquest. So, come on, pin. I'm still not particularly good at using that part. Bonus or penalty to the amount of pops that will become radical when we conquer states militarily. So what that means is if you're picking up a lot of territory and you're already at over 100 infamy, you're mostly just going to be picking up radicals. I mean, I don't even necessarily think that's like the end of the world if you're just picking up radicals, because there's still pops, and if you have like good ways to combat them, like if you have a dedicated police force, or if I'd played well and picked up a home affairs, then you can combat radicals very, very easily. But that said, infamy still has issues related to it. If you have over 100, then that's where you start having cut down to size diplo plays come to you. That can be a good thing because it can save you the effort of having to declare war on the other great power. But generally speaking, my recommendation is don't go over 100 infamy until you're ready to fight everybody. Not necessarily all at once. They usually don't pile in all at once if you're at like 200 or whatever, but you need to be ready to fight all of them. And not rely on allies at all, because you won't have any allies. The only allies that you will have in the game will be like vassals, pretty much, and extreme minors. What are you doing? You have an attitude that is minus 2000 relations cordial. I worry for you. I worry for you. Maya, yeah, but like largely as your infamy goes up, then your diplomatic ability to maneuver goes down. And so what that means is you need to be more careful about managing your infamy at the beginning of the game, and then less careful towards the end. How do you manage your infamy? Well, you manage your infamy with base infamy decay, and then you get a pretty reasonable chunk of infamy decay from having unspent influence. And so what that means is you actually kind of have a finite amount of infamy in the game. Because the base decay 5 a year is like always there, and then the diplomatic mitigation is like basically the only way that I know of to reliably reduce infamy. I think there might be an event or two that does it too, but like the same religion event I think does it, but it's not reliable. So if you wanna keep your infamy down, then you need to have a surplus balance of influence, which needs to be at a minimum 2 times the amount that you're spending here in order to get that 25% infamy decay bonus. That's the way that you can kind of like really rush infamy in the beginning of the game. It's not that like you can't go up to 70 infamy at the beginning of the game. You absolutely can. You can go over 100 at the beginning of the game if you really, really want to. But it's a way easier to continue growing if you have 20 infamy and you're going down and then back up and then going down and back up, because people will stop you a lot less. So you can fight a lot more wars without getting anybody mad if you have 20 infamy than if you have 90, which is why I think generally the recommendation right now, which is floating around, which I think I agree with, is try to keep your infamy low until you're getting up into like maybe major power. Minor powers, depending, can sometimes get away, but you wanna be careful about how much infamy you acquire too fast until you're really strong. That's basically what it boils down to. I would say that I would like personally for there to be either a military or a society technology in like tier 4, 3 or 4, that makes it so that you can take unincorporated states from other people with like a massive infamy debuff or a bonus. So like maybe 50% off of the infamy or 75% off of infamy, or like maybe it's 50% and 75% if they're your rival, but like something like that to simulate the ability for people to fight for colonies more in the late game, cuz you can't really like take any land without causing serious issues in the late game because everything's so developed, so the infamy cost is so high. That's why you got to end up going into puppet Annex at some point. I can't do it with USA because I can't start a Diplo play yet because I'm in the middle of one. But Austria, I think you don't have anything going on here, right? Nope, you do. Russia, you also have a war? Does everybody have wars going on? All right. Prussia doesn't have a war yet. So when you start a Diplo play, one of the things that you can do is make puppet, and that's very powerful because after you've made them into a puppet, you can use Annex subject on them, and the combination of make puppet and then 5 years later Annex subject, which would only require you to have them be at wow, at 100% tax waste. What is happening in this game? What is happening in this game? Maybe I'm gonna do a follow up where I just like, now that the save file is broken, I can go around and look at the AIs and talk about their behavior so far. But yeah, infamy is a good important mechanic, and you should hope to get strong enough that you can ignore it. All right, that's Walker. That's We Play Games. Take care.